Albert Einstein, the name that changed our understanding of the universe forever. Born in 1879, Einstein was the brilliant mind behind the revolution in modern physics. His general theory of relativity didn't just explain gravity, it redefined it as a curvature of space-time. But Einstein's life wasn't just one of genius, it was a tragedy. A pacifist at heart, he unintentionally propelled the world into the atomic age. Despite his brilliance, he rejected key ideas in quantum theory because, as he said, God does not play dice. He spent his final years in a failed search for a unified theory of everything, a theory that would explain all of nature's forces in a single equation. The world saw him as a father figure, but in his private life, he gave up his daughter for adoption and grew distant from his son. Yet he left us with one eternal legacy: E equals mc squared, an equation that changed how we see energy, mass, and the universe itself. Einstein once said, "Politics are for the moment. An equation is for eternity." This is Albert Einstein, the troubled genius. The year is 1492. Christopher Columbus has just returned from the New World and a book revolution is sweeping Europe. Gutenberg's printing press has just churned out the first of several Bibles in Germany, and in Italy a young artist named Leonardo da Vinci is creating a masterpiece. The Last Supper will become one of the most famous paintings of all time. In Ulm, Germany, a poor Jewish family is about to welcome their second child. It would be a boy they would name after the artist. Little did they know, he would change the world as much as Leonardo da Vinci or Christopher Columbus. March 14th, 1879, young Albert Einstein enters the world in a modest two-room apartment. His mother, Pauline, runs a small business renting out pianos, while his father, Hermann, is a successful engineer and businessman. When Albert is born, his older cousin, Anna, tells her family she is sure he will grow up to be a great man. She doesn't know how right she is. In the next few years, the family relocates to Munich, where Hermann found a new job. Albert grows up showing early signs of genius, but also becoming a bit of a loner. At age 3, Albert is already performing complex mental calculations. By age 5, he's reading books. When he starts school, he struggles to fit in. His classmates bully him. His teachers don't understand him, and he misses his friends in Italy. He lashes out against the strict discipline and rigid structure of the German education system. Rather than speaking, he starts stuttering so badly that no one can understand him. After only a few months, he withdraws completely, refusing to speak at all. When Albert is 6 years old, his parents divorce and he goes to live with his father in Munich. Soon after, Hermann marries his cousin, making Anna Albert's stepmother. Together, they plan to send Albert to a Swiss boarding school. But when Albert arrives at the school, his father has had second thoughts and has told the staff he wants his son back. Albert is sent home again, more withdrawn and solitary than ever before. At 12, Albert enrolls in a school in Italy run by monks. He excels academically, but clashes with the rest of the students who make fun of his strange habits. For example, he refuses to follow orders from his teachers and instead works at his own pace. He develops an interest in girls though, and eventually becomes class president. Now feeling more comfortable around others, Albert returns to Germany and graduates from high school at age 16. He attends university in Zurich, Switzerland to study physics and engineering. But Einstein is restless and easily bored. He feels stifled by the slow pace of learning and strict rules of traditional schools. To pay for tuition and living expenses, he takes a job at the Swiss Patent Office, examining patents during the day and studying at night. It is here that he completes his first scientific paper at age 22, describing a new method for calculating the motion of molecules. It is published in a scientific journal in 1901, and then another paper follows, this time on surface tension. Einstein's reputation as a scientist begins to grow. Meanwhile, he meets a woman named Mileva Maric who is studying to become a physicist. They marry in 1903 and have 2 children, a boy and a girl. But there's a dark secret surrounding the birth of the baby girl. She was put up for adoption soon after birth, and the couple never told anyone about her existence. Years later, Albert would say he could not remember anything about her or why they gave her up for adoption. With 2 children to support, Einstein works hard as a patent examiner, but the work is tedious and restrictive. He longs for freedom and more intellectual challenges, so he starts attending meetings of a local Academy of Science and meets some like-minded colleagues. The group encourages Einstein to pursue his research interests and prepare lectures for publication. One day, he walks into a lecture on electromagnetism and optics. The professor talking is Hendrik Lorentz, who introduces a concept called the relativity principle. Einstein finds the lecture fascinating and realizes this is what he wants to do with his life. Over the next few years, he completes 4 revolutionary papers on special relativity. The first is published in 1905 and shows that the laws of physics are the same whether an object is at rest or moving at a constant speed. The second paper concerns the photoelectric effect, which describes how light can knock electrons out of certain metals. Third, Einstein develops the idea of mass-energy equivalence, stating that mass and energy are interchangeable. This is probably his most famous paper and introduces the equation E equals mc squared, which shows that mass can be converted into huge amounts of energy. Finally, the fourth paper presents his theory of special relativity, which says that space and time intertwined in a 4-dimensional continuum are relative to the observer, and that the speed of light is constant for all observers regardless of their own motion. These theories are revolutionary. They challenge the long-held beliefs that space and time are absolute and that mass is conserved. Einstein is now a celebrity in the scientific community. In 1908, he leaves the patent office to take a professorship at the University of Zurich. In 1911, he moves to the Charles University in Prague. 3 years later, he moves again to the University of Berlin. Here he is working on his next project, the general theory of relativity. It would be his greatest achievement, but it will also bring him the most trouble. Einstein begins his work on the general theory of relativity by asking a simple question. What would gravity look like if it were possible to accelerate the entire universe? If this were possible, then all objects would be weightless, since they would be falling equally and accelerating together. But he reasoned that the Earth and other massive objects cause the very fabric of space-time to curve, and that this curvature is what we perceive as gravity. Once this breakthrough occurs, the general theory of relativity is essentially complete, but proving it mathematically takes another decade. During this time, Einstein is very busy. He is giving lectures, serving on committees, and traveling around the world. He is particularly active in peace activism, marching against war and weapons of mass destruction. He also struggles to keep up his marriage and relationship with his son. In 1915, his general theory of relativity is finally accepted by the scientific community. He is an international celebrity, receiving invitations from all over the world. But Einstein is unhappy. When the First World War breaks out, he denounces nationalism, but many people do not appreciate his stance. Anti-German sentiment is running high in Britain and France, and some accuse Einstein of being a German spy. After the end of the war, Einstein travels to the United States and gives a series of lectures in several cities. He is well received and quickly accepts a position at the Institute for Advanced Study in Princeton, New Jersey. He moves there permanently in 1933, just before Hitler comes to power. With the Nazis, Einstein knew he would no longer be safe in Europe. He leaves his house in Princeton empty, but locks his desk where all his research notes are kept. When he goes to leave, he forgets his wife's wedding ring, leaving it behind in the house. On November 19, 1937, the New York Times publishes an article written by Einstein which outlines his proposal for a new weapon, the atomic bomb. Although he is a pacifist, he believes that the Germans may be developing such a weapon, and so he urges the US government to build one themselves to keep up with the Germans. We now know that Einstein's letter had little or no effect on the development of the atomic bomb, but it is nonetheless a troubling part of his legacy. During the Second World War, Einstein continues his public opposition to war and fascism. He travels across the country raising funds for war bonds and visits a wounded soldiers' hospital in Washington. Again, he is seen as a symbol of hope and resistance against tyranny. At the end of the war, he joins world leaders in calling for a peaceful settlement and urges the creation of a state of Israel. After the war, Einstein grows increasingly worried about the destructive potential of nuclear weapons. In 1950, he writes a letter to President Truman urging him to halt the development of the hydrogen bomb. Again, he is ignored. He continues to travel, lecture, and campaign for peace until his death. On April 18, 1955, Albert Einstein dies of a ruptured aneurysm at the age of 76. His body is cremated, and his ashes are buried in a private ceremony at Forest Hill Cemetery in New Jersey. No speeches are given, and the grave is marked with a simple headstone that reads, "Here lies the physicist Albert Einstein. He is gone, but his legacy lives on. E equals mc squared." This equation changed how we see energy, mass, and the universe itself. It was Einstein who showed us that mass can be converted into energy and that energy can be converted into mass. Today, we use his equation to describe how stars generate energy, how nuclear weapons work, how black holes form, and more. Without Einstein, our understanding of the universe would be incomplete. So the next time you see an equation, remember that it's not just numbers and letters on a page. It's a window into the workings of the universe, and it's a reminder of the brilliance of the human mind.